Hello.
Good evening. I call the April 8th, 2025 regular board meeting of the Richland School Board of Trustees to order. The agenda for tonight's meeting has been published and made available publicly. May I please have a motion regarding the approval of the agenda?
Madam Chair,
Mr. Dennis?
I move to approve the agenda for the April 8th, 2025 regular board meeting.
Is there a second?
Second.
The motion has been made by Mr. Dennis and seconded by Ms. Nash to approve the agenda. Is there any discussion? I'm going to go ahead and take this opportunity to mention that Dr. Scott is on the phone with us. She is present. All right, board members, please vote.
Ms. Porter, I am voting in the affirmative. It did not pop up for me.
Okay, it just went live, so you may have to refresh, but we have you down. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
The vote is 7 yes, 0 no, 0 not present. The motion passes. Now to 3.1 executive session. We will move to items 3.1 executive session. May I have a motion to go into executive session?
Madam Chair,
Ms. Williams?
I move to convene an executive session for the purpose of discussing receipt of legal advice and our discussion incident to pending contractual negotiations regarding Hope's City Charter School, student appeals, student admissions requests into the district's adult education program, employment recommendations and certified releases, ratifications of professional recommendations, ratifications of administrative recommendations, ratifications of administrative multi-year recommendations, and personnel matter regarding student progress report. Superintendent progress report. My apologies.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
The motion has been made by Ms. Williams and seconded by Ms. Nash to go into executive session. Is there any discussion? Is the motion correct? Hold on one second. Let's see if it pops up. Make sure that's correct, Ms. Williams.
Yes.
All right, the motion's correct. Board members, please vote. Okay. The vote is 7 yes, 0 no, 0 abstentions. The motion passes. The board will now enter into executive session. May I have a motion to end the executive session?
Madam Vice Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
I move that we adjourn executive session at 6:29 and resume public session.
Is there a second?
Second.
The motion has been made by Ms. Washington and seconded by Mr. Trapp to end executive session at 6:29 and resume public session. Is there any discussion? I'd just like to state that Mr. Dennis stepped away, but he will be back shortly. Board members, please vote. The vote is 7 yes, 0 no, 0 abstentions. The vote passes. We'll now resume public session. And now we are at 4.1, Inspirational Moment and Pledge of Allegiance. We will now move on to the Inspirational Moment and Pledge of Allegiance. Ms. Angela Nash will introduce tonight's guests for this evening.
Good evening, everyone. I am reading this for Dr. Scott, who is on the line with us. April is designated as the month of the military child, a time to recognize and honor the resilience and contributions of military children. It's a time to celebrate and acknowledge the unique challenges and sacrifices faced by military children. The theme for the 2025 Month of the Military Child is celebrating military children and youth, building stronger character and relationships. Many of us have had the opportunity to participate in the MCEC Richland 2 Tell Me a Story and Army Band performance last week in the kickoff event. We had a great time with our military families. Joining us tonight are Richland County 4-H teen leaders who put together hero packs for children who are experiencing deployment or just need encouragement. This is an example of the bags these students put together, which we have here. Very, very cool. For our inspirational moment, I'm proud to introduce two military-connected students, Indy McWhirter and Evelyn Hickman.
Being a military child has meant a lot of moves. So I'm in 6th grade, and I've attended 6 schools. I started learning at Lake Carolina Elementary School. Then I moved away to just move back and attend Round Top Elementary School. After that, I moved away and learned to ski on Round Top Mountain. And then I moved back here to write about my experience skiing on Round Top Mountain. But I was totally unprepared to win a national writing contest and then get my book, The Big Ski Jump, published. So I'm donating a copy of The Big Ski Jump to your library and Dr. Moore. Dr. Moore, thank you for continuing to serve military kids.
Okay, we could do better than that, y'all. We have an accomplished author, and I got my copy, signed and all of that. So I wanted to take this opportunity really quickly, as you stated, that we have our 4-H teen counselors here with us. Can you all please stand? So much of what we do to support our military-connected students, we have to rely on our community, right? And so these students have put together, and this is the bag. I'm sorry, I gave you the wrong bag. That bag is for you. These are the bags. They're called hero packs. And these students have put together these bags to provide for our students that are have parents who are deployed and students that just need some extra encouragement. So I wanted to acknowledge them tonight. These are our Richland 2 students. We have with us Delaney Brown. Delaney, raise your hand. Delaney. Jordan Loney. We also have Jarvis Shaw. Jarvis is the president of the 4-H Teen Council. Jennifer Stevens is our one of the volunteers here. Ms. Stevens is standing here with us. Ms. Rosemary Martin Jones is 4-H youth agent, right? Did I say that right? Okay. Yes, ma'am. And we also have with us, did I call everybody? Did I miss anybody? Caden. And Caden's at Muller Road. He's one of our student-to-student ambassadors, our student-to-student ambassadors here. So I wanted to recognize them because they're, yes, thank you. Oh, and I forgot your name, ma'am. I'm so sorry about that. Okay, I got it on here. Let's see. You are Jaden Bridget. Jada Bridget. Jada from R&E, right? Got it, okay. All right, please give them a round of applause. These are our students supporting us. You all can sit. And we're going to deliver these packs to our students who have parents who are deployed. So now we'll go ahead and just do the Pledge of Allegiance because I didn't want to take up too much time, but thank our students for.
Will Evelyn lead us, please?
Yes, absolutely. Evelyn. Come up here. Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge of allegiance to the flag
to the
of the
flag
United States of
of the
America
United States of
and to the
America
republic
and
for
to the
which it
republic
stands,
for which it
one
stands,
nation, under
one
God,
nation, under God,
indivisible, with
indivisible,
liberty and
with
justice for all.
liberty and justice
Thank you,
for all.
good job. Thank you, Evelyn. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, and thank you to our leaders, our 4-H leaders. We appreciate you. We are now moving on to 5.1 consent agenda. We will now, may I please have a motion regarding the approval of the consent agenda?
Madam Vice Chair,
Yes, Ms. Nash?
I move to approve the consent agenda for the April 8th, 2025 regular board meeting.
Is there a second?
Second.
The motion was made by Ms. Nash, seconded by Mr. Dennis. Is there any discussion? All right, board members, please vote. The vote is 7 yes, 0 no, 0 abstentions. The motion passes. 5.2, approval of minutes from the previous meeting. We will now move to 5.2. May I please have a motion regarding the approval of minutes from the previous meeting? Hold on, did I miss? I'm sorry, that's part of consent agenda. I'm reading the script and not paying attention. Thank you. We are at 6.1, public participation. Okay. We will now move on to public participation. We have one individual that signed up to address the board. You will be given 3 minutes to address the board, and to assist with timing, the lights on the table in front of me will change colors from green to yellow to red. When you have 30 seconds remaining, the light will turn yellow. When your time is up, the light will turn red, and you will hear an audible tone indicating your time to speak has expired. Before we begin, I will remind you that our meetings are streamed live and recorded. According to policy BEDH, comments from the public should not include gossip, defamatory words, or abusive and vulgar language. The policy also prohibits in public session any expression of personal complaints about individual school personnel or any other person connected with the school system. Specific student or personnel issues should be handled through the appropriate procedures as indicated in the district policy. Questions asked during public participation typically will be referred to a staff member for a response at a later time. We'll now have Ms. Anna Parrish. Please come to the podium. She's got it, Mr.
Good evening, Madam Vice Chair and board members. And this evening, I'm making a commentary on the process and final decision to adopt Calendar C for 26-27. Taking a neutral stance, I'm not commenting on the benefits of any of the calendars, but I do want to make a comment on the process and final decision. I appreciated and respected the entire process, including how Dr. Franklin brought Calendar B as the proposed calendar. As it has been tradition to present the calendar that received the most overall votes, it was common sense not to deviate from that precedent. However, Dr. Franklin also presented the anomaly in which the total number of votes did not correlate with the overall preferences of any one group. In addition, there was a marginal lead of only 13 votes in favor of Calendar B. I greatly appreciated her transparency in disclosing this to the board. As we look at the whole child when we make decisions, and not only a single test score to determine what they need, I think that can be an analogy here. At times, the clear-cut answer or even numbers may defy logic and what is truly best for schools in the district. And in that case, it is critical to consider all factors and make common sense decisions for our district. While it was common sense for the district to propose Calendar B, given that it followed a precedent, it was also common sense for the school board to adopt Calendar C, given the additional information disclosed by the district and the discrepancy in numbers. I encourage you to continue weighing multiple factors as you make decisions in moving our district forward. Sometimes that means we deviate from a certain tradition or a precedent, and other times numbers may not tell the whole story, and a different path must be chosen. Regardless, it is vital that decisions be made with the highest thought and careful consideration. Please continue to remember this, that whichever motions are passed and and whichever policies are adopted will, in some way, affect every single member of the Richland 2 family in some form. Following a precedent for the sake of following a precedent may positively impact the district, but there may be times it won't. For the well-being of the district, it is vital to know the difference and to make adjustments accordingly. Thank you for your flexibility and responsiveness in making the decision to follow the logical path, choosing a calendar that was the preference of individuals who are both employees as well as parents. Thank you.
The board will now vote on items discussed in executive session 7.0. 7.1, Hope City Charter School application. May I please have a motion regarding the Hope City Charter School application?
Madam Chair,
Yes, Ms. Nash?
I move the board find that the Hope City Charter School Planning Committee submitted a charter school application on or about February 10th, 2025. The application was timely reviewed and evaluated by the school district staff, and staff's feedback was provided to the Planning Committee in March. A public hearing on the application was scheduled for April 8th, and on April 4th, the Planning Committee formally requested the board not review and rule on its charter school application and withdrew the application while indicating the Planning Committee's intent to submit a new charter school application at a later date. Accordingly, I further move that the board accept the Planning Committee's withdrawal of its charter school application submitted in February 2025. Said application is hereby not approved by the board, and that the board acknowledges the Planning Committee's notice of intent to file a new application in the next charter school application cycle for consideration in 2026.
Thank you for the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
The motion has been made by Mrs. Nash, seconded by Mr. Dennis. Is there any discussion? Okay, before you vote, board members, let's wait to make sure it's correct. Ms. Nash, just let me know when you're ready.
That is correct.
Okay, board members, please vote. All right, the vote is 7 yes, 0 no, 0 abstentions. The vote passes. The motion passes, excuse me. 7.2, student appeals. May I have a motion regarding student appeals?
Madam Vice Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
I move to deny the appeal for student number 1.
Is there a second?
Second.
The motion has been made by Ms. Washington and seconded by Ms. Nash. Is there any discussion? Okay, board members, please vote. Okay. All right. The vote is 5 yes, 2 no, and 0 not present. The motion passes. And we're now moving to 7.3, student admission request into the district's adult education program. May I please have a motion regarding the student admission request to the district's adult education program?
Madam Vice Chair,
Yes, Ms. Williams.
I move to approve student admission requests into the district's adult education program for students 1 and 2.
Is there a second?
Second.
The motion has been made by Ms. Williams and seconded by Ms. Nash. Is there any discussion? Board members, please vote. The vote is 7 yes, 0 no, 0 abstentions. The motion passes. Now we're moving on to 7.4, employment recommendations and certified releases. May I have a motion regarding employment recommendations and certified releases?
Madam Vice Chair,
Yes, Mr. Trapp?
I move to approve the employment recommendations and certified releases as presented.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
The motion has been made by Mr. Trapp and seconded by Ms. Nash. Is there any discussion? All right, board members, please vote. The vote is 7 yes, 0 no, 0 abstentions. The motion passes. 7.5, ratification of professional recommendations. May I please have a motion regarding the ratification of professional recommendations?
Madam Chair,
Yes, Mr. Dennis.
I move that we accept the ratification of professional recommendations for the 2025-26 school year as presented and remove employee numbers 9, 222, 358, and 716.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, the motion has been made by Mr. Dennis and seconded by Ms. Nash. Is there any discussion? All right, board members, please vote. The vote is 7 yes, 0 no, 0 abstentions. The motion passes. Do I have another motion, Mr. Dennis?
I move that we accept the ratification of professional recommendation for the 2025-26 school year for employee number 9.
Is there a second?
Second.
The motion has been made by Mr. Dennis, seconded by Ms. Nash. Is there any discussion? Board members, please vote.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
that motion should have the year in it.
Okay. Ms. Washington, will you make that change? Board members, as you vote, just know that the year is going to be edited and put in there. We have 6 yes, 1 abstention. The motion passes. Do I have another motion?
Madam Chair,
Yes, Mr. Dennis?
I move that we accept the ratification of professional recommendation for the 2025-26 school year for employee number 222.
Is there a second?
Second.
The motion has been made by Mr. Dennis, seconded by Ms. Nash. Is there any discussion? Board members, please vote. The motion reads 6 yes, the vote is 6 yes, 1 abstention, and the motion passes. Do I have another motion?
Madam Chair,
Yes, Mr. Dennis?
I move that we accept the ratification of professional recommendation for the 2025-26 school year for employee number 358.
Is there a second?
Second.
The motion was made by Mr. Dennis, seconded by Ms. Nash. Is there any discussion? All right, board members, please vote. The vote is 6 yes, 1 abstention. The motion passes. Do I have another motion?
Madam Chair,
Yes, Mr. Dennis?
I move that we accept the ratification of professional recommendation for the 2025-2026 school year for employee number 716.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, the motion has been made by Mr. Dennis and seconded by Ms. Nash. Is there any discussion? Did I not call for the vote? I'm sorry. Board members, please vote. The vote is 6 yes, 1 abstention, and the motion passes. Now we are moving to 7.6, ratification of administrative recommendations. May I please have a motion regarding the ratification of administrative recommendations?
Madam Chair,
Yes, Mr. Dennis?
I move that we accept the ratification of administrative recommendations for the 2025-26 school year as presented.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, the motion has been made by Mr. Dennis and seconded by Ms. Nash. Is there any discussion? Board members, please vote. The vote is 7 yes, 0 no, 0 abstention. The motion passes. Now we're moving to 7.7, ratification of administrative multi-year recommendations. May I please have a motion regarding ratification of administrative multi-year recommendations?
Hello, Madam Chair.
Yes, Mr. Dennis.
I move that we accept the ratification of administrative multi-year recommendations for the 2025-26 school year as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, the motion has been made by Mr. Dennis and seconded by Mrs. Nash. Is there any discussion? Board members, please vote. The vote is 7 yes, 0 no, 0 abstentions. The motion passes. We're now moving on to 7.8, and I don't think we have a need for that. So we're going to 8.0, new business, no action requested. We'll move to 8.1, pupil services report, district's alternative program. The agenda item in this section is pupil services report on the district's alternative program. Dr. Moore?
Thank you, Madam Chair, Vice Chair. I'd like to introduce our team that's coming to speak about our district's alternative programs, and that would be Mr. Cleve Smith, Chief of Pupil Services, and Ms. Sabrina Suber, Dr. Sabrina Suber, who is our Principal Supervisor, the Executive Director for Secondary Schools. We also are blessed to have with us our principal of Blythewood Academy, Mr. McClintock, and McClinton, and I always say your last, Manica. See, I got it. and Ms. Manigo, our principal for our virtual school. And with that, I will turn it over to Mr. Smith.
Good evening, Vice Chair, Madam Vice Chair, board members, and Dr. Moore. We're here to give you an update on alternative pathways in Richland 2. As Dr. Moore has already introduced, Dr. Suba and myself, topics we're going to talk about tonight are Blackwood Academy, pathways promotion, and some research for further alternative pathways. Right there you see the mission statement for Blackwood Academy. Also on this slide, we talk about where it's presented that that students wear a uniform and satisfactory completion of coursework assigned by the teachers. Here we have Blackwood Academy staffing, and as you can see, the teachers are on the left and other faculty and staff on the right. One or two highlights here. With middle school, there are 5 teachers, and basically that 5 teachers are based off of the 4 core classes plus a special ed teacher. And with high school, you see where we have 11. That includes 2 of each of the core, which gives us 8. Again, a special ed teacher, a virtual facilitator is also in there. And PE is elementary through middle to high school, so you see that. Over to the right, then you see where we have our other staff, including our classified staff. This is the enrollment as of March the 12th, which ended the third 9 weeks. Right there, that current enrollment, that's what we had, a total of 7 students at the end of the third 9 weeks that were enrolled at the alternative school. But as you can see, from the beginning of the year until that time, we had a total of 255 students, and we have elementary, middle, and high up there for those numbers. Requirements for students to exit Blackwood Academy. On the academic side, students have to successfully complete their coursework, their classes, attendance for students at Blackwood Academy, like attendance for students at any of our facility, any of our schools. We follow the same attendance guidelines. They say they have no more than 2 absences, so that's what we have with them. Behavior, the expectation is for the behavior to decrease while they're there. A little bit later, Dr. Suba will go into some other issues and some other highlights in regards to behavior. Family intervention services, that's our counseling services that we provide for our students who are out there with the family counseling. And service learning, we have community service and other pieces of service learning that our students go through. The number of returns and no-shows during the 24-25 school year up to March the 12th. The recidivism rate, as you can see over there on the column on the left, there was only 1 student that returned to Blackwood Academy during this school year out of the 270 that we had there. The no-shows, we broke that out by grade level. We have 1 elementary, 1 middle, and the high school. On the high school end, we have a total of 12 that were there. Also, a question that has come up during the school year about no-shows as a result or due to transportation. We were able to do some research with Blackwood Academy there to assist us with that, because that's not a number we keep by off of a spreadsheet, but as you can see, that number was 2, 1 9th grade student and 1 11th grade student. Courses that offer at Blackwood Academy, elementary, middle, as I stated before, we have language arts, math, science, social studies, and PE. On the high school end, because as we all know, there's students coming. Some of our students are 9th graders, some of them could be seniors. So as you can see, for English, we range from English 1 to English 4, and the other courses that our students have. And what we try to do is we mirror what they were taking at their sending school. In some cases, we can't do that, but we at all costs, we try to go ahead and mirror what they were taking at their sending school. Dr. Sue?
And so how are the different learning styles and needs accommodated? At Blythewood Academy, they attempt to do the same thing that we do in our schools each and every day. All of the kids come with their Chromebooks. They have, the teachers are using various teaching strategies, different modalities. The supportive learning environment, that includes some of the wraparound services that I will talk about in just a few minutes. So there's small grouping, there's one-to-one. I was in fact in a class yesterday with Mr. McClinton, and there was one chemistry student. So the teacher was teaching, which I was very impressed because she was up, she was using the smart board, and the student was actually following her. I also visited an Algebra 1 class with him. There were 2 students in there. And when I left, the teacher was sitting between the 2 students, working with each of them. So what are we doing in the middle schools for the career readiness activities? Well, Blythewood Academy does have one CDF, a full-time CDF there. If the 8th graders are still there during the time that they are scheduling and doing IGPs, they are equipped to do that as well. They have a full-time school counselor. They push into the classroom, so their presentations can come from our CDF. It could come from visitors, because sometimes they do have guests, our school counselor. So there are various people that push into the classrooms for their activities. High school is much the same. We've identified school links, but for those of you who may not recognize school links is just like SCORS, if you're familiar with SCORS. So it's just like SCORS, which is a career exploration vehicle for them to use. They do have individual counseling sessions. Again, there is one full-time school director there. And then they have one-on-one meetings. If you've been to Blythewood Academy at any time, you could almost at any point see a student meeting with the CDF or meeting with the counselor or other support that they have. And so they are working towards some, but lots of their time is spent on their core classes. So what are some of the wraparound services? Because we already recognize that those kids that are attending, some of them have multiple needs. And so the wraparound services are the counseling sessions that they provide and they have to attend. But I will be honest, there is a shortage of therapists or interns that can work with them. And so that requirement is pretty difficult to be met. And in some cases, the students are having to return to school because they haven't received those services and complete those counseling sessions at the school. We also use LSS, and which is each school has an LSS team. And Care Solace, if you're familiar with that, that is an assistant that every student and every staff member has access to mental health assistance. And so if someone's tied to a staff member, that person as well has that opportunity. So behavior and SEL supports. As in our schools, we have behavior expectations, and I will not be dishonest and say that they don't always have some choices that they experience in some different behaviors. Some of the behaviors are the behaviors that they have exhibited in schools. They exhibit some of those very same behaviors. And so they're continuing to work with them. Mr. McClinton, along with him, he has an assistant administrator that works with him, as well as several monitors. And so some of their behaviors, they do not just absolutely cease when they get to the academy. Unfortunately, some of them do still occur. They are working with them with SEL. They have specific plans for that. Again, the people are having to push into the classroom. Sometimes they have assemblies, but not very often. There's definitely a push in because it is difficult to bring some of the students together. if we're honest, then, some of the kids have had problems with the kids when they were in school. And so to bring them together when they're all assigned to Blythewood Academy makes that difficult. So it has to be, their interventions have to be individual or in small group settings. They also use the MTSS, the multi-tiered system of support, which includes the social worker. I don't know if you noticed, but Mr. Smith, the social worker is just 0.5. And so that's a part-time social worker. And so one of the needs perhaps would be to have a full-time person. I think the person comes two days a week? Yeah, 2 days a week, and so it would be nice to have a full-time social worker there so that they have that continued support. And then Mr. McClinton, they also do professional development. The entire district is doing the professional development for conscious discipline, and Blythewood Academy's teachers are included. The resource teachers, we have a middle school resource teacher as well as in high school. So they follow the students' IEPs as well as their 504s. So those students are not combined. And then discipline. It is basically the same that we do in our schools, monitor and redirect. There's lots of talking. And this is based on my visits and my conversations with Mr. McClinton. Lots of monitoring, redirection, working on the appropriate words to use, whether they're inappropriate, just making sure that they understand that they are guidelines. There are behavior contracts in place for some of those students who need to have a no contact issue. And so they do provide those behavior contracts. Of course, counseling, and at any time you could probably go to Blythewood Academy and find Ms. Harris, who's the school counselor working with individual students. And not just Ms. Harris. I mean, I've been there and the registrar's talking to kids, the monitors are talking to kids. And so it's really an all hands on deck. There's not one specific person. What I've witnessed is that everyone is a part of this team and trying to help the kids make better decisions. They do meet with parents. They have parents come over to discuss the students' behavior. They meet with the students. And if you notice that I've listed OSS, out of school suspensions, and that is because they do not have the staff to have an in-school suspension person. And so if the behavior is something that cannot continue and cannot be allowed, parents have to come and pick up their kids. If for some reason they deny, because you may not believe it, but some parents say, I'm not coming. And if they're not coming, then they are placed with one of the administrators or placed in the office where they are not left alone, or sometimes in the counseling office as well. So what are the challenges? Really addressing those diverse behavioral issues. Based on, you've seen the packets when they've been assigned, there are many different behavioral issues, as well as there are some mental health issues. And so not only do the kids at Blythewood Academy need the core academic support that we provide to all students, they also need some additional support for those outside behaviors that are not tied to academics. A lack of motivation. There is no extracurricular activity. So, there is not a key club or a band club. There are no extracurricular activities. They are there all day, and then in the evening they go home. The stigma of going to Blythewood Academy. Kids seem to think that that's a place to go because you've misbehaved, and it really kind of is, but the stigma is not one that is valued. And then lastly, I do have transportation because parents have asked about transportation. But what I've seen is they've made it happen, right? They would like the transportation so that they're not having to, get off work early, go late. But they've made it happen because their kids being educated is most important. And so the needs, I actually talked to Mr. McClinton about that and said, just tell me what you like. What do you want me to tell the board that I have the mic? And so he said facility enhancement. He would love a bigger facility. Someplace like this. No, I'm just teasing. This is a really nice room. But he said, he talked about the bigger facility because, right now, sometimes the middle and high schools, they have to mix because they have shared spaces. The elementary kids are on the back side of the school, but in order to get to the cafeteria, they have to go through where their older kids are. Security upgrades at Blythewood Academy, they do not have the bullet resistant, glass that's in some of the schools. And so there is some glass there, but they're not encapsulated like other places. And sometimes they're not very happy people that are going there, and they have straight access to them. And then dedicated support, of which I think everybody, all of our principals, everyone would say that they would like more support. But they currently have a part-time social worker, and a full-time social worker would be nice. They do not have a full-time psychologist, but that is a shared position as well. And then additional security personnel. And I'll be the first to acknowledge that I know that it's difficult to have additional people there, but continuing to have conversations where we make Blythewood Academy a place that is safe for all, the kids, the adults, the parents who are coming in. And so those are the things that Mr. McClinton would like to see. Pathways to promotion. I remember I was still a high school principal when we started Pathways to Promotion, and that program is for kids who have been expelled, but there was a desire for them to still try to get credits. So that, they're not getting behind, and it's optional. You don't have to take it. And since 2018, when it started, I think we've had 48. We've served 48. Yes, we serve 48 students. And so that is a program where we're trying to help students. Yes, you made bad decisions. You may need to be expelled, but can you take those courses? What happens? They get to take 2 courses. I get emails regularly from our virtual school asking, Dr. Suber, so-and-so has completed the 2 courses. Can I give them 2 more? Absolutely. If they complete the 2 and they can do 2 more, let's keep them moving. Those kids that are motivated and want to continue, we don't want to stand in their way. So the primary goal was really just to aid those kids while they're out of school, and to make sure that kids know that we are providing additional help for them. It may not be in the building, in their regular buildings, or at Blythewood Academy, but they still have an opportunity to earn credit. Again, that takes a commitment from the kid and the parent. And then I've already told you what the eligibility was. If they're expelled from Richland 2, Pupil Services will then send a recommendation asking if they would like to participate. After that time, it goes to the superintendent, who then allows them to be re-enrolled based on board policy. But again, this is an opportunity for those students who would be expelled and who would not be receiving any type of academic assistance. These kids now have the opportunity to take those courses. And so they're enrolled in the virtual courses. Our virtual school, Dr. Manigault, she and her team, they actually take care and make sure that the kids are completing their assignments, and they are communicating with me if they want to provide additional help for the kids.
We have done some research for further alternative pathways, and some of what we have looked at ways to expand our virtual alternative program, as well as looked at ways for our overage students, and even looked at an evening high school. And I just want to share briefly with you in regards to each one of those. The benefits of alternative pathways for expanding a virtual program is it gives us a flexible learning environment. This will go ahead and, as you saw, one of the needs was about transportation. This will allow students that have health issues to go ahead and take courses that might not be able to take them in a day-to-day brick and mortar school. So there's options that way. Also, support of overage students. As we all know, this will help with the prevention of the dropout rate, because as students that have not been successful and they feel they're in a class with younger students, they lack, as Dr. Suber said, motivation. So again, this is another way to make sure that we're reaching every one of our students, even those students that have some academic challenges, have some behavior challenges. Again, this is another way that we can go ahead and look at providing an opportunity for them. And last but not least, the evening high school program, this will be a way to, again, have programs that are not in the traditional school day that could go ahead and help students continue their education outside of just, we do our adult education center is great, but this is another way we can reach some other students and in regards to that. And to conclude this, we have been looking into this, and we've heard from you, board, in regards to some of the options that are out there, and we too have been looking at how we can serve all of our students with the challenges that they face each and every day. And with that, brings us to superintendent comments and board discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Smith and Dr. Suber. Board members, as you can see, our goal here is to ensure that we meet the needs of each of our students. Even when students make poor choices, it doesn't mean we throw that student away. Challenges, though, occur with providing that student with the support they need. And I know most of you have visited Blythewood Academy. You know that one of the points Dr. Suber made is so true. Students are greeted when they come in the door. People are talking to them, because we all know that we can tell how a student's day is going by the way they walk into our classroom that day. And they're already being stopped and pulled aside, having someone talk to them about what's going on, what do you need, so we can get you set up for success. The fact that students are wearing uniforms, they take pride in their appearance, and the wraparound supports that are provided, not just to the student, but to the family, is encouraged. We do tell them they have to do it, but they don't always take advantage of that opportunity, but it is a service that we provide. And then, of course, through Dr. Manico's program with our virtual students, sometimes our students are just not a good fit to come into a physical building for a variety of reasons. And so having that option for the promotion to pathway is a good one. And I do know, because Dr. Suber will come to me, and I do get the emails, I have to sign off and approve, right, Dr. Manico? I have to approve those students going into the program. But for some students, it's a great way for them to stay engaged and to stay out of trouble. So we're excited about the opportunities that for future plans, but we're also pleased with the supports that we are currently providing to our students. So with that, we'll open it up for questions.
Thank you, Mr. Smith and Dr. Suber. Board members, are there any questions or comments?
Madam Vice Chair?
Yes, Mr. Dennis.
Yeah, the one question I wanted, the evening high school program, would that produce a true high school diploma or a GED?
We are still looking into that. We're doing research with that. We have reached out to one of our neighboring districts who has that program. And recently, in one of our high school's data meetings, the suggestion from one of our schools was like, this would be something we would like to pilot. So again, we are researching that.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Mr. Trapp.
I do have, I'm not sure if it's a question or a comment, but as far as the location of Blythewood Academy, and I know the board has heard me say this so many times, but I personally think the building is in the worst possible place in the district for what we're doing with it, because I live about 2 miles on the other side of it. And it is a nightmare to access that building during business hours, especially in the morning traffic, evening traffic. So my question, having said that, my question would be, what are our goals or plans on possibly moving that to a facility that will better serve those that attend that school? Because to be quite honest, I cannot imagine living in Dennisville and having to be at work at 8 o'clock, but having to take your child there, drive through Blythewood traffic, the worst, it's as bad as hardscrabble, it's horrible, and then have to leave work early to try to get there in the afternoon as well. I really think that's just such a burden on these people. And when we place tremendous burdens on people, we invite failure. And I'm terribly concerned about that. What are our long-term goals and possibly plans related to that?
Dr. Moore?
I'll ask Mr. Anderson to come up and address that. But right now, what I would say, Mr. Trapp, is we don't have another location at this particular point to relocate the school to. So we would have to look at either renting a facility or building a new facility.
Yes, sir. Dr. Moore pretty much answered the question. We do have available land. We don't have any space in any other current of our facilities. You're right. The facility study in 2018 called for that building to go away. In the grand scheme of things, we are in the process of should sooner rather than later have our facility study up, and that'll be a discussion on that. Our goal is to help provide the best environment possible, and you're right, it's not only the location not very convenient, it's not a good space. Mr. McClintock and his team do an amazing job of doing what we can. Our team does our very best to help be there, but the building as well as any of us, it's in dire shape, but they do a great job communicating with our team to do all we can to help them. But that's a long-winded answer to say we don't have a plan yet, but price per square foot right now is at least $400 a square foot. And so we'd probably need a 30,000 square foot building, is my guess. So do the quick math. That's a lot of money right now, and we probably wouldn't build it for a year and a half. And I know Ms. Williams is sweating right now because we don't have any money. So, but thank you.
Dr. Scott, I know you're on the phone. Did you have any comments or questions?
No, I didn't have any questions. I just want to say that I really appreciate the time that the team put together to come and share this information, because I think it's something that the public needs to hear, as well as the school board, to see exactly what's going on and how the program is actually run at Blythewood Academy. And I want to say thank you to Mr. Trapp for his comment about the location, because I think we've had this discussion as a board for at least 5 to 6 years of possibly trying to find a location that will be centrally located for all parents, and that's been a concern. So I'm glad that now we have opened up this conversation, and we do have board members who are willing to engage in the conversation. So thank you to Mrs. Manigo, Mr. McClinton, Mr. Cleve Smith, Dr. Sabrina Suber, for bringing this information to the board for transparency, and to get the ball rolling for the future, to make sure, as Mr. Trapp said, that all students are successful. And in order to do that, we have to put them in a position where they can be successful. So thank you so much for that. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Ms. Williams?
Thank you, everyone, for your report tonight. I appreciate it. But I have a couple of concerns about Blythewood Academy. One reason, we do know that a lot of our kids go because of behavior. However, we know that some of our kids still go for attendance reasons as well. But they still have good grades, things like that. And we also have kids who might have behavior issues but excel in academics. And so my concern is that even though we address certain academic needs, there are kids who might be in honors courses, or some kids that might have been in 6th grade now might have been 8th grade, but they received 6th grade curriculum. We've had several concerns as parents have come to us who have students in Blythewood Academy about the rigor of, and I understand that they're there for behavior, but when they return back to their home schools, they're falling behind because they're not able to, they've missed a lot of academics. And so that's a real concern of mine because we still want our students to graduate on time. Another thing that is that's a great concern of mine as well is that some of our kids, I know we go there for behavior, but as addressed before, there's some behaviors that other kids are exposed to that they've never been exposed to before. So when they go back to their home school, they have picked up additional behaviors and there's no type of so-called reform. And so with that being said, our students are falling further and further behind, are getting into more trouble. And we're not seeing, there's, I don't know really how to say it, but we're not seeing our students improve behavior and academically. And one of our major reasons is to ensure that they are academically ready, able to graduate on time, and their behavior is so-called changed or has improved in some way. So what are ways that we are looking to ensure that these things happen? Because again, we don't want our students to fall further and further behind in these situations.
That's a good question, Ms. Williams. And one of the pieces in your question that comes to my mind is that last slide, and let me go back to that one if I may. Some of the research in regarding further alternative pathways. You're talking to a former principal of Blythewood Academy, and you're also talking to someone that has spent many years in education. And over the years, things have changed. We're in a different time now. And with this alternative pathways here, answer some of those could be the answer to what you just asked. As we move forward and look at our placement in Blythewood Academy, virtual alternative program, in regards to students that are over age. Mr. Dennis was asking about the diploma part with the even in high school. When we look at that, and as we've all said, talk about looking at every child, as we explore these options could give us remedies to some of those things. And transportation, that could give us another way. As Dr. Moore said about students might not need to be in the building because of health reasons or other reasons. Again, everything that is out there virtually, that's another solution. So, I think the brick and mortar, Blythewood Academy, looking at what we can do as we have expanded with Dr. Manigo and expand that further and other options, I think that will do that because as we all know in education, everything is not a round peg for everything. And we hear about every child, then with these options, and we are looking into these things. And again, I don't want to look at Ms. Williams either, because I know when I'm talking about looking at things, we're talking about money. But I say that to say this: we have looked at, and we will continue to look at ways to go ahead and serve our students better. So that could be a solution to it. But again, we're researching it. So that's something we need to continue to research, have a discussion as administration, and then bring that back to answer your question. And I'm sorry for my long answer, but
no,
it's
okay.
Short answers.
Thank you. And then the only other suggestion that I do have for you all, and us to look at, is just including in the wraparound services, not just counseling for our students, but for the families as a whole when it comes to parents being involved in it. Okay.
Yeah, family intervention services is part of that.
Is it mandatory or is just suggested?
family intervention service is mandatory. Matter of fact,
Okay,
you
thanks.
start, you have to start the family intervention services while you're at Blythewood Academy. You might not finish it in 45 days, but we still their way to get out of there in the 45-day period. And if they have successfully complete, we don't want to hold on because you hadn't finished that. But we tell our parents, you need to continue this, but it is mandatory.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. And I encourage anyone who has not gone to Pinnacle Point to please make sure you look at that facility for intervention services. Mr. Dennis.
Yeah, it's kind of more of a comment than a question, but I know on there you said security upgrades and talking like that, and I know that we had that bond referendum. I think if we ever do anything like that again, if we're talking about security, we need to make sure if we're doing security and we say it's for everything, if security for a student, it better be done if we ever do anything like that again. It will be done at every facility that I can help, and that's how I'm going to vote on it.
Ms. Washington?
Yes, thank you so much for the updates. I think it's just important that we send a message that we also value our alternative programs, just like we value all of our other programs, all of our other buildings, all of our other initiatives across the district, because it's great that we're researching, but I think sometimes as educators, and we can all admit this, we get caught up in all of the research and all of the great things that are happening that sometimes we get, we're gonna have to invest in it. It's no other option, because that school is the school that I attended when I was in 2nd and 3rd grade. And when I visited there, I was like, this looks just like when I was here in the 2nd and 3rd grade. And to me, when we think about kids having a sense of motivation, sometimes it even starts with just new carpet on the floor, paint on the walls, updated furniture, just like we invest in that for all of our other schools. I think it's important because as a student, I would feel some kind of way knowing that I left a beautiful building and you want me to be reformed and transformed and to grow while I'm here, but it feels like a prison system. And so conversations that we are continuing to research. And so I just want to advocate and say that I would like to hear what is the plan of action, because while we have so many other initiatives that we invest in, this is something that we're going to have to say, why aren't students getting extracurricular activities in that building? Why is there not an art teacher? We will fight to make sure that there is one in every other school, but why is there not an art teacher there? Or why don't we have community partnerships where we can bring people in to teach the kids gardening, how to work on cars? Those things are offered at all of the other schools, and I think that we need to ensure that we are sending a message to the children that you, so that when you transition back into the school, you're not at a level of education that you got when you left that school. And so that's my one comment, and that is my one thing that I will, just like Mr. Dennis said, I will fight for until I get off this board, because we cannot continue to sell children that we value them, and we've sat here and said all of them, but yet next year when I go, because that is one of the schools that I want to go to, it looks the same. And so that's one of my concerns, and I wanted to just express that, because I applaud everything that the staff does there. I applaud you, Principal McClinton, for all of your hard work. I applaud you, Dr. Manigault, for putting programs in place. And so I want us, the same way that we evaluation is, what are some things that are hindering us from getting some of those extracurricular activities there to be able to support those students while they're in Blythewood Academy?
I could probably answer. I could let him come, the will of the staff to be the advisor, am I right about that? Yeah, the will. And so, in high schools, when there are different programs, the kids go out and get advisors and say, would you be our advisor for A, B, and C? And so, but I'm not sure that we have tried, and maybe that's something we could do a better job to see, but the will of the people. And it would also have to come back to coverage. If we're doing those things after school, the coverage for those teachers remaining after school to do it. One of the things that we've, talked about this year really was getting teachers to stay a little beyond the time of the day to be able to assist them. And so I think that as Mr. McClinton does interviews, that's something that he should ask, would you be willing to be an advisor to a club?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I actually have some questions myself. Ms. Nash? Go ahead.
Yeah, so mine was kind of more like a just comment. Thank you guys for all the work that you did. I think probably what I heard was, I can't imagine that if you had the resources is everything, and that's something that we have to work out. But I also will say, I think probably one of the things, aha moments for me is, when you just said about like having people maybe stay after, I don't think people want to stay after. I think like we're giving a lot of pressure on teachers as it is, but I do like the idea of partnerships, and I know for a fact there are a lot of companies and businesses out there that would be willing, especially now. I think people are in a really giving mood, whether you've been out there or not, people are in a really giving mood right now to help, companies are, and finding those companies to work with you all in like what they were saying about like after school programs or even programs there that will help them be rehabilitated. I want any school to look like that it resembles, but I totally think that if we had resources, then yeah, you guys would make it look amazing. It's just a matter of us having to figure out where that is, and sometimes that takes sacrifices on everybody's part, and sometimes that takes us being really creative with finding the budget. So thank you all for your presentation.
Thank you. Anybody else before I continue? Okay, so I have a list of notes. I've been listening, and I wanted to start with what I hear from our community members and our students that come to us. And granted, they want to stay at their home school with their friends and their clubs and all those things, so to account when I hear this. But some of the things that we and that I struggle with that. And coming from the classroom, the statistics that I just viewed, it was 11 teachers for the high school and 50 some odd students. To me, that's a really small group. Mm-hmm. To me, I'm not even thinking like we would need after school. Mm-hmm. Because if you're thinking this many teachers in this small group, you have so much more time. Just think if you only taught your small group all day versus your entire class of 24, 25, 28 students. Mm-hmm. So I'm thinking we can carve out time. Including the time that they're spending with their social workers and their in the outside. I don't know if after school is necessary, but I'm reaching out to the many community members that we hear on a regular basis say they want to help out and how difficult it is to come into our district and sign up to help. That things as simple as volunteer hours, it's not easily accessible to be able to say, that school has a need and I want to help. And so working out that system of how we can get volunteers is something that you may explore on that list of alternatives. Also with the students that need a counselor, in this situation, out of all of our schools, I would prioritize that for this school, because with our goal of students not coming back and returning there, other school is worth it. And I heard Ms. Cobb come to us during our hearings about the need for more counselors and so forth, and I don't remember hearing Blythewood Academy being one of the schools that she listed, but and she may not have listed schools, but I really think that this is the school that should be prioritized for a full-time position. And if you start there and then work your way versus filling up all of the other schools and what's left over goes to Blythewood, we should probably reverse that, knowing the purpose of the school. And then the same with the social worker. I think prioritize making that a full-time position. And that's the start to see if we can start having some, how they feel when they're there. And saying conscious discipline, and you mentioned that in your presentation. What's an example of what conscious discipline looks like? I've heard it so often this year, and I have yet to hear, what does that look like? I know restorative practices and things like that, but what does conscious discipline look like?
Ms. Porter, while Dr. Suber comes to the mic, we do have a full-time school counselor at Blythewood Academy. It's the social worker that is .5. So there is a full-time counselor there.
Okay, that's good.
So with conscious discipline, we deal with the adult first, making sure that they remain in the executive state within the brain. Because what we're seeing right now with the data, which I'm very proud of, we compared last year to this year, we've seen a drastic drop in classroom discipline referrals. Very proud of that. I was going to share that with Mr. Smith as a gift later on. But with conscious discipline, we have the brain smart start. So the brain smart start, we unite the class together to make sure everybody belongs. We have a commitment. We're going to commit today to focus on teaching and learning. And then we have a de-stressor to make sure that we distress all children. Because I remember growing up in schools, I hated when teachers called on me, so I would be anxious. So with that activity, you ensure that students are calm and ready to learn and that they're at the executive state. So that's what that looks like in a nutshell.
So more so of how the
What state the child is in, too.
Okay.
Because if I'm in survival mode, there's nothing you're going to say to me that's going to help me at that point in time.
Okay.
If I'm in emotional mode, I might be saying words that I shouldn't be saying, but if you're talking to me at the time, it's not going to help me either.
So the adults in that building would probably need more check-ins when it comes to conscious discipline throughout the year versus the one time before school starts.
They have classroom implementation right now as
Okay.
well. So we're working with the teachers that are willing, because if they're not willing, there's no need because they've already turned off to it. So with teachers that are in the classroom that utilize conscious discipline, the strategy is to ensure that you create a culture and environment to ensure that the students are ready to learn.
Social worker and our or other resources, that's something that would be prioritized. And I'm thinking about our budget and how those items to me would be prioritized over some other things, knowing that if we're trying to see some movement here and some growth, being that we can't get a whole building made and a whole, I would like to see some of those things done at least. Thank you, Dr. Suber.
No, you're welcome.
I'm good with conscious discipline. And then I also had some notes here about Innovators Incubator. I remember 5 years ago, you had a group from Food Academy that went through incubators with, and I'm not sure where that went. I know Mr. Lane, he's a former educator in Richland too, that headed that group. I know he worked with you, Dr. Suber.
Jeremy Lane.
So I'm curious to know if that work can kind of be restarted with the brainstorming of the research pathways.
Yeah, and I can get in touch with Jeremy to find out about it. I've been here 5 years, and so he's probably been gone 7 to 8 years, but I can find him.
I know there was a lot of work that
Right.
went into that project, which involves this slide right here.
Okay.
And maybe if it could get picked up with those who are willing and who
Right.
want to see the change, getting some ideas from community members and staff in that work. Also exploring the idea of having those, like what Ms. Washington said, and calling it a different course. It doesn't necessarily have to be art or music, but like a flex course where you have your partnerships coming in.
Right.
But I remember hearing some of those ideas then.
Right, but I do think, come here, Emily, but, I'm sorry, but because Emily, Dr. Manigault has worked to provide some of the support that he needs to help. And so, would you like to talk about the art?
We have historically done that, and we'll continue that when it's available. So 2 years ago, we shared an art teacher. We hired the art teacher. It was someone who was in the position, but we did have the funding to hire an adjunct, and we shared that individual with the virtual program. She taught virtual art as well as sections at Blythewood Academy. And so we are always looking for those partnerships. Likewise, we needed a chemistry teacher, so Blythewood Academy's chemistry teacher taught virtually that course. And so we do try to partner when there's availability. So we do try to innovate in that way when available. It is limited from time to time. based on staffing and what our needs are compared to what Blythewood needs at that time. Theirs is a little bit more complicated because they get the students from the school already enrolled in specific classes. And so they are, as I think, and we did hire an FTE. We used one of the FTEs, but thank you guys very much that y'all gave us last year to offer art. And so next year we're hoping we hired in the middle of the year for that position because it was approved late summer. And so next year we do have a plan in place to do that because that was a rich experience for students. We have a lot of the feedback from the students at Blythewood Academy. And our teacher, even though they're virtual, our teachers work virtually from home, she was willing to go to Blythewood Academy from time to time and did go to Blythewood Academy, and we encourage that whenever possible.
Excellent. Thank you. And then are your 2 no-shows, are those considered dropouts? When
Yes,
you don't have them?
if they did not come to school, yes.
Okay. All right, that's all my questions. Anybody else?
Up this conversation if we can, please, and give board members an opportunity if they have more questions to go out and visit those schools or to get with Dr. Moore. I mean, we've spent quite an amount of time on here, and I know it's important, but again, you know, we want to be respectful of everyone's time
Thank you, Dr. Scott. Ms. Williams?
because we could go on for hours.
Thank you. Ms. Williams?
What impact does Blythewood Academy have on our district's graduation rate?
On our district's
Graduation rate? So Blythewood, like the impact of the students and like have on our graduation rate as a whole of them either falling behind?
I don't have the exact number, but they're there for 45 days.
Correct.
And so if they need the credit recovery or content recovery, that all takes place back at their schools. And so I don't have a specific percentage, but I can assure you that the graduation rate is extremely important. And so when they come back, that they make every effort. But they could be 9th graders, and so it's a long way. They pick up extra classes if needed.
Dr. Coleman, could you share any additional information on that?
Sure. It's quiet, Sabrina. You didn't hear me sneak up. So because Blythewood Academy is a program and it's not an actual school, as Dr. Suber said, the kids go back then to their home school. So if you happen to be a Blythewood Academy and you're towards the end of a semester or the end of a year at EOCEP with Dr. McClinton at Blythewood Academy, but your score then is attributed back to whichever your home school is, whether that's elementary, middle, or high, whatever. Same with if you happen to have a senior who's in the end of their 4 years at high school, they might graduate with Ms. McClinton, but they then go back to their home school's ratings because, again, it's a program. Much like Dr. Manigo's virtual, it's a program. Like R2I2, it's a program. So although the kids have access to all of these resources, they still count back on whatever their zoned home school is in the system.
All right, thank you. So we're going to go ahead and move on. We appreciate all of you for giving us such great information, and this answered so many questions for us. Know that you have been in our conversations. But everything that we heard today cleared up a lot. So thank you so much for your time. If someone could hit that microphone right there, because it'll probably give us feedback. Thank you. All right, we are moving to 9.1, draft agenda for the April 22nd, 2025 regular board meeting. Board members, are there any revisions or additions you would like to see? Oh, hold on a minute, we need to read that, don't we? All right, Dr. Moore?
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. As stated, our next regularly scheduled board meeting is April 22nd, 2025. The board will meet to conduct their regularly scheduled business with a call to order at 5:30 p.m., followed by approval of the agenda. The board will then take a recess for executive session. In executive session, we will discuss student appeals, student admission requests into the district's adult education program, employment recommendations and certified releases, and release back to public session at 6:30 p.m. We will then have our inspirational moment and pledge of allegiance, followed by the consent agenda, which will include approval of the consent agenda, approval of minutes from previous meetings, and classified employment releases and in-district transfers. Next, we will have our public participation, followed by special recognitions. We will have student recognitions and principal and teacher recognitions. We'll then move to item number 8, which is voting on executive session items, which would include student appeals, student admission requests into the district's adult education program, employment recommendations and certified releases, and as needed for items discussed in executive session. Next, we will have new business, no action requested. The board will receive an information technology report, and we will have proposed budget, the first reading. Next, we will have the agenda items for the next meeting, which would be the draft agenda for the May 13th, 2025 regularly scheduled board meeting, followed by our if needed items of public participation, executive session, continued, voting on executive session items, conclude with board and superintendent comments, and adjournment.
Okay, now, board members, are there any revisions or additions that you'd like to see made to the next meeting agenda or to a future agenda? Ms. Washington?
So I would just like to see maybe the board come up with a list of, we've talked about policy reviews. That was one of our priorities. I would just like to see the opportunity for the board to be able to have some discussion around policies, related to academics, related to, we talked about safety, we talked about behavior, discipline. And so I don't know where this would fit, because I know that our upcoming meetings are going to be packed with a lot of information for our budget. But if at some point before the school year ends or in one of our upcoming work sessions, I think it would be beneficial for the board to collectively come up with a list of policies that we want to prioritize that need to be revised. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Dr. Scott? Okay.
Yes.
Did you have anything that you wanted to add?
No, not to anything on the agenda. Thank you.
Okay. I too would like something for policies. If I would ask our colleagues to brainstorm the items that are of interest of you for you to share with all of us, so that we can kind of map it out for future meetings. Moving on, we have board and superintendent comments. We're moving to 14.1, board and superintendent comments. Can we start with Mrs. Nash, please?
Sure. Okay, so first up, I want to say I had a really good time going to Muller Road's Willy Wonka Jr. It was awesome, and it was so cool. I love the theater, and so it was great to see them. They said it was their inaugural play that they did, and it was absolutely wonderful. So, and they had really good chocolate. I taste tested it as a chocolatarian. I would say I give it a 9 out of 10. So, and then the other thing is this coming, actually I think it's like the week after next, April 19th from 11 to 1 right here at the R2I2 field. Grace Life, my home church, is going to be doing an Easter family fun bash. And it starts, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. And there's going to be like ice cream carts, hot dogs, facilities, bubbles, face painting, games, tattoos, egg hunts, all that stuff. And yours truly, that would be me, and my husband Kelly Nash will be your, I guess we'll be like whatever you call the host fun people. Yeah, we'll be the host fun people, so we'll be tag teaming that. Yeah, we'll be the MCs on the mic. So that'll be fun, because it's always fun to tag team that. And I'll segue right into this so I can get this on public record for all of eternity. But I just celebrated my 8th anniversary on yesterday. And for anybody who's been on a board, school board, or done anything like this, our spouses sometimes are the unsung heroes. And so I just want to publicly say to Mr. Kelly Nash that he is my very best teammate and the most absolute amazing person that I could possibly ever marry to be in this whole thing with. So with that being said, have a great night, everybody.
All right, Mr. Trapp?
Ms. Nash, I'm sorry for interrupting, but can I please go after Mr. Trapp? I do have the matters I need to tend to, and I'm not sure if you saw my message.
Dr. Scott? Dr. Scott?
I can go after Mr. Trapp, that's fine.
Mr. Trapp said go ahead, and I agree. You should go ahead.
Thank you so much, Mr. Trapp. I do appreciate that. just want to say thank you to Kelsey Carter for bringing those wonderful military connected students and the 4-H team counselors to give the inspirational moment. It was kudos to the young lady that spoke and to the entire team. You know, being military students, I know how difficult it can be. I was once one of those students. So thank you to the parents and to the family who help out and connect with them. We really appreciate that. And thank you, Mrs. Nass, for presenting in my absence. Also want to say congratulations to Jaden Wilson, who's a sophomore at Westwood High School, who broke another record for in track, 200 meter. So proud of Jaden Wilson. And then also would like to say happy Assistant Principal Week to all of our wonderful and amazing, dedicated, loving, kind, wear many hats administrators. We know that you play so many roles, and we thank you for coming away from family time to make sure that your school family is also taken care of. So I want to just say thank you for your commitment, for your compassion for students, and for being the best administrators in the entire universe. Thank you so much for allowing me to go on. With that, I'm going to sign off. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you, Dr. Scott. Mr. Trapp?
Before I make my comments, I do want to point out a little historical thing here about Blythewood Academy. Both of my parents went to high school in that building, and I believe in 1970, I started first grade there. So you can knock it down, though. I want you to know that. I mean, the buildings are unimportant. Students are everything. So, don't let nostalgia hold you up when you're making decisions. Now, on a serious note, I had a parent reach out to me sharing a concern, and I've seen this happen over the years when I would drop my daughter off at school. And the concern was how some parents, I don't know if they're impatient, I don't know what the reason is, but they don't follow the rules. They drop their children off somewhere other than in the car rider line. And then there's students who are going between cars and things like that. Now, I want to share a story with you that will illustrate, I think, one of the reasons I'm concerned about this. In 1984, I was in Salt Lake City, Utah, and I received a phone call, and I believe it was my mother. And a younger cousin had just been struck by a car and had died. I can't imagine how devastating it is to lose a child like that. I know for me, it was my cousin, lived right in Blythewood, where we all live. And it isn't just the family that suffered at the time. The gentleman that was driving the car, completely not at fault. There's nothing he could have done to change what happened, but I know it haunted him the rest of his life. So we have rules in place for a reason, and that reason is to keep your children safe and to protect you and your loved ones from the anguish and the grief that could happen, that could occur if something happens to your child. And it isn't just your child and your family, it's everyone around these events. And so I would encourage our principals and our SROs and everyone that has an opportunity. I know we can't shame somebody into behaving, and we can't punish children for what their parents do. But I hope you're a little frightened. I hope that at least maybe fear will motivate you to be a little more careful when you're dropping your kids off at school, because it's in I'm paranoid about everything. I'm a worrier. It's what I do. And I always think of the worst case scenario, but hundreds of times every week there's a child injured in a driveway in America. There's just so much and those are all preventable. There's no reason to ever have your child crossing between cars and a car rider line. So please be careful. And I know sometimes we're impatient, we're late or something, but it's never worth it to take that chance. And I hope that we can all work together and encourage people to do the right thing. And maybe the Safety and Security Committee can do a little brainstorming on this and maybe come up with some ideas on what we can do to help these parents make better decisions. And I just want to encourage everybody to take care of your little ones. Y'all have a good night.
Thank you, Mr. Trapp. Ms. Williams?
I'm gonna keep this short. But I want to say thank you to everyone who came out tonight. Very appreciative. Thank you to Mr. Smith and Dr. Suber for their report today. And I also want to say Happy Autism Acceptance Month and Month of the Military Child. This April, we proudly recognize and celebrate two incredibly important groups within our community. And we are better because of you, and this month we celebrate you with gratitude and admiration. I also had the pleasure of attending 2 events since the last time, which was our Gator Fest for Lake Carolina. Very, very fun event, nice food trucks, and organized as well. And the Military Child event that was also hosted. I had the opportunity of listening to a wonderful band by Fort Jackson, played some great music, and a nice read aloud by Dr. Moore. and attempting to grasp the attention of the babies and engaging them with some wonderful questions that they had to follow up. So thank you, everyone. Have a great Tuesday and enjoy the remainder of the week.
Ms. Washington?
Yes, I want to say congratulations to Richland Northeast senior Lillian for her award that she received from C-SPAN on her documentary, Carolina Connections, Understanding Others. If you have not seen it, board members, I really encourage you to watch it. She talks about community engagement, building bridges, and reaching across the aisle. I also want to say hats off to the 5th graders at Bookman Road during their college show. I was able to attend last year when they did the careers, and so to hear a lot of the students make those connections about their academic requirements, see, they are paying attention early, y'all, to be successful in their careers, that was so amazing. I met future teachers, chefs, vets, and I need Darcy to hook up Landon with WLTX because he's going to be the next Jim Gandy. He talked about his career as a meteorologist, and he was super excited to tell me that he was on the morning show, and I said, you need to start doing weather. Let them know that I gave you permission to start doing weather. I also met a young man who said that he is graduating from R2I2 with his Safe Serve certifications so that he can be prepared for a future in food service as a chef. How amazing. Thank you to the Central Carolina Community Foundation for allowing me to be a part of your scholarship committee. We review lots and lots of scholarship applications from students across the state. And last year, this organization awarded 213 students with scholarships. Speaking of scholarships, the South Carolina Caucus of Black School Board members, their scholarship is open today through May the 3rd. Last year, 6 Richland 2 students received that scholarship. And I want to say to all of our Richland 2 employees, I hope you enjoy your time away for spring break. I know I said that a little early the last time, but it's here now. I want you to rest and refuel, do something that you normally wouldn't do, and be present for you. Happy spring break and have a great rest of your week.
Mr. Dennis?
All right, so I want to thank all the speakers for coming out tonight. This inspirational moment was awesome, and for those of you who don't know, I'm retired military, and when my son was 2 years old, I only got to know him for 9 months. The rest of the time, I was deployed. And we weren't in the States either. We were in the United Kingdom, so my wife just had a brand new baby, living in a country that she don't know what to do. So that's what these military children go through. And the spouses, it is a lot on them. So they are the true rock stars when it comes down to it. I also wanted to say I got to attend the Little Mermaid play at Blythewood. It was happening the same night as Round Top Spring Fling event. I will gladly say that after the Spring Fling event, my daughter Savannah got to go in and watch The Little Mermaid. She knows every song sung by Disney by heart, and when she left, she goes, "It was perfect." So thank you, Blythewood, for the amazing play. And to segue into that, there's another play happening this Thursday, April 10th, at the Performing Arts Center, and that will be Round Top doing the Willy Wonka, and I just happen to know one of the little Oompa Loompas that will be singing at that. And and that will be my daughter. And then also last week, I think it was last week, I got to be in here with a bunch of colleagues of mine up here, and we got CPR certified. So we got some more lifesavers up here as well. It was a blast. I highly suggest that we start utilizing that attire for our board meetings because the flip-flops and shorts was pretty cool. So, but other than that, thank you, everybody. Thank you to our employees. Thank you, Dr. Moore, for everything y'all do. And that's it.
Thank you, Mr. Dennis. I am going to try not to repeat anything that was said. Oh, Dr. Moore, you got before me? Oh, that's right. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Vice Chair. I'm stuck on the boxer shorts, but we're going to move along here. Shorts. Okay. Box of shorts. So first off, Ms. Washington, that young man can talk with Darcy because Darcy is a meteorologist. That is her degree. She's our inside weather woman. So most people don't know that, so I've just told her secret. And like Mr. Dennis, I am the proud mother of military children. And so this month of the military child is personal for me also because my daughter was born in Colorado. My son was born in Germany. Unlike most students who can tie their roots back to a particular area, my children could be considered nomads because they've not had a place that they call home for their entire life because they were born into service. And so April is a very important month to me, a special time for us to celebrate because of these commitments that our children face through their parents. It is an opportunity for them to demonstrate grace and courage, and we are just very proud to stand with our military families. I am so committed to this process that I wore the one and only floral outfit today because it was Floral Day that I own. I am not a floral person, and this is the one thing that I own is the floral skirt. I did it because I'm committed to the military children. And I will actually put on something that is a animal print. It's gonna require sacrifice, but I'm gonna do it. Also, no. This is also, I want to thank our Magnet Schools of America for their recognition. Richland 2 was the overall winner for round 3 of Academic Excellence of Magnet Mania Superintendent of the Year contest, and they recognized me not for my work, but for our hard work in celebrating and winning that award. The $500 was presented last week at Forest Lake Elementary NASA Explorer School by MSA CEO Raman Tahari, and it belongs to our entire Richland 2 family. So thank you very much for that. I also had the privilege to go to the Hill with the Richland 2 Hill Day at the State House, and it was a privilege to go there with our teachers from the Teacher Forum. This is where they had an opportunity to interact and engage with our lawmakers. The day was a meaningful opportunity for advocacy, for public education, and to ensure that the voices of our students are heard at the highest levels of state government. So I'm always inspired by this opportunity because our teachers advocated not for themselves, but for what they believe was best for our students. I am just so grateful to be a part of that day, but also just a part of our district, our district, and the fact that they invited me to come with them. So it was a privilege and an honor. I want to remind families that Choice opened, the second Choice window opened Monday, April the 7th, and will run through 5 p.m. on May 2nd. So remember that in Richland 2, we believe that every school is a great choice, but we recognize that children have different interests and needs. And through our choice programs, it provides students with the opportunity to tap into those more specialized desires that they may have. So please don't forget that the choice window is open and will close at 5 p.m. on May the 2nd. Now, for those of you that may not realize this, I love technology and future thinking. And we are looking forward to the AI Frontier Summit Parkway Middle School was selected as one of 10 schools in the state to participate in the new Palmetto AI Pathways robotics program next school year. So we are very excited because students will have this unique opportunity to compete robotic dog, the Palmetto Automated Learner, better known as PAL, and engage in hands-on lessons with IT-ology curriculum, fostering not only an interest in coding and robotics, but learning about diverse careers across all of South Carolina's industries that will be impacted by critical technologies, particularly AI. So I just want everyone to know that Richland 2 is also actively exploring AI integration to enhance and support our teachers' hard work next year and beyond. We are currently in the selection phase for an AI platform that aligns with teacher needs. We know AI can help our teachers because it can automate administrative tasks. It can generate lesson plans, assessments, and instructional materials to personalize student learning, can quickly provide targeted feedback and grading assistance to save time and improve efficiency, and offer data insights to support differentiated instruction and intervention. And please don't misunderstand what I'm saying. AI will never replace a great teacher in the classroom, but what it will do is enhance that by taking administrative tasks off the teacher's plate so the teacher can be brilliant and shine and make the magic happen every single day in each classroom, which is what they do right now. We want to help take some of that load off of them. And then last but not least, arts in Richland 2. You know, we hear a lot from parents about the fine arts programs, and we are expanding and providing opportunities for student growth across all of the artistic disciplines. The district's Performing Arts Center, which opened just 5 months ago, is now the district's new hub for creative expression. We hosted our first in-person visual art show since 2019 at the PAC and set a record attendance of over 1,400 visitors during the 2 opening nights. The district partnered with Broadway Plus to bring in actors and a production stage manager from the national touring companies of the musical sensation Six and Hadestown to work with our high school thespians, dancers, tech crews, and musical theater students. So our Performing Arts Center is not just a great place for theater and experience for audience, but it is a teaching institution for our students. These master classes and workshops provide unique and valuable teaching moments for our students and our teachers. And so many of our visual arts students are entering and winning city, regional, state, and national competitions. A great example of this, you're gonna like this, Miss Washington, is Rose Alonzo, a 10th grader at Richland Northeast, who had her design selected as the new commercial logo for the Bridges School at the therapy place. Way to go, Rose. Finally, this summer, for the first time, Richland 2 will have the most students participating among the 3 sponsoring school districts, Richland 2, Lexington 1, and Lexington Richland 5, in the Tri-District Arts Consortium, a summer program for talented and gifted middle school students in band, chorus, creative writing, dance, orchestra, theater, and visual arts. Did you hear the part that we have the most students? I'm very proud of that. So with that, I will say happy spring break. Thank you for what we do every single day to make the magic happen for students.
Thank you, Dr. Moore. Remember that IT-ology, we went to that STEM fair last year. They were a part of that. Yeah, it came on. So next, I just wanted to hit on something that wasn't said, because I told myself I would not repeat things. It was the PAC. They are on a roll, because we had Ridgeview also there this past weekend with the Descendants, and that was an awesome performance. I'm really excited about what's happening next door. And then I also wanted to thank Center for Achievement for inviting me to read at their school for their VIP readers for Women's History. I had the pleasure of reading to a 5th grade class there, Plátanos Are Love, and it was a great new book for myself and new book for the class. students. Also tomorrow, we have days at the Capitol with school board members. So just like you had that experience with our educators, there will be some eager school board members at the State House tomorrow. And I look forward to participating in that and advocating for education. Also, with 3 degrees of separation with the month of the military child, I too am a military child. And what's really cool is I remember as a student when my father was stationed in Fort Jackson here, the students that I met in our neighborhood in Fort Jackson were also when we ended up buying a home and whatnot in the Northeast, we came to Richland too. And I had friends that I knew from on base that also came in Richland too. So years later to see that this is our district, a military district, it's sweet. So to remember those memories and some of my best friends that I met on the military base that also became Richland 2 students. So that was really cool. So let's definitely honor those students and recognize them when you see them this month, and wear as much purple as possible, which is very difficult for me.
Me too.
Yeah. All right. So at this time, I'd like to move to adjourn this meeting. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Madam Vice Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
I move to adjourn the meeting for Tuesday, April the 8th, 2025.
Okay. Under
Second.
all that noise, do we have a second? It was Joe. Okay. So let's see. The motion has been made by Ms. Washington and seconded by Mr. Trapp. Is there any discussion, board members? You sure? All right. Let's vote. Hand vote. Everybody in favor? All right, we have 6 yeses, 1 not present, and the motion passes. Have a good evening.